All right. Hello and welcome to our second reading of Who Was Martin Luther King Jr. We are going to be reading the second chapter today called School Days. I think we are all missing our school days. But anyway, Martin Luther King Jr. was always a very good student. He loved to read and make speeches. He studied very hard and skipped 2 grades. At just 15 years old, he graduated from high school. So the average graduated from high school now is 18. So he was 15 when he graduated. Woo, crazy. That summer, Martin worked in Simsbury, Connecticut. It was Martin's first time in the North. He had a job in the tobacco fields. He was surprised to see how differently life was for blacks in the North. Black and white children went to the same schools. There were no separate restaurants. Martin dreamed that this could happen in the South too, if only there was some way he could make this dream come true. Okay, so he was inspired by what he saw in the North to try to make that happen in the South. Okay, so here's the picture on the bottom of that page of him eating at a restaurant that everyone's allowed to eat at. Okay, Martin returned to Atlanta to attend Morehouse College. This was the same college that his father had attended. All the students at the school were black. All the teachers were black too. At first, Martin wasn't sure what he wanted to study. He knew that he wanted to spend his life helping black people. But what was the best way to do that? Perhaps he would follow his father's footsteps and become a minister, or maybe he would become a lawyer. Okay, so here's the picture of Morehouse College. So there we got to our first discussion question for today. So just like yesterday, you can either just say it out loud, you can write it down. So if you do that, you might want to pause the video. So he does not know what he wants to do just yet, but he knows he wants to help people. So my question for you is, what do you want to do when you grow up? Would you want to be a minister or a lawyer or a doctor? Okay, so write down your thoughts or say them out loud, shout them, since there's probably not many people with you, okay, since we're not in class. Okay, so that's your first discussion question. All right, here we go. You ready? Okay. All right, in college, Martin Luther King Jr. read an essay by a man named Henry David Thoreau. The essay was written in 1849. In this essay, Thoreau said that people have the right to disobey unjust laws. In Thoreau's time, the United States still allowed slavery. Thoreau wanted to protest slavery. He felt the government was wrong to allow it, so he refused to pay his taxes. As a result, he was thrown in jail. But Thoreau did not mind being in jail. He was making a point. Martin liked the way Thoreau thought. He also liked that Thoreau protested in a peaceful way. So you're starting to see maybe some of the places he was inspired by. Okay, so he's saying that he read about how that this man thought that you could disobey justice if you did not think that it was what was right. You had a right to fight for what was right. And then he starts to get that idea of that peaceful protest and why that could be more effective. Okay? 2 of Martin's favorite college teachers were ministers. Because of them, he decided to become a minister as well. As a minister, Martin could speak out against segregation. He could show his people how much he cared. So he decided to be a minister so that he has that platform of being able to speak to a lot of people. Okay. When Martin Luther King Jr. was only 17, he gave a sermon at his father's church. He wasn't a minister yet, but the sermon was heartfelt and inspiring. His words not only touched the members of the congregation, but his father as well. The very next year, Martin became a minister and also an assistant in his father's church. So here's a picture of him giving his first sermon, his first speech. In 1948, Martin graduated from college. He was 19. Martin's father wanted him to stay at Ebenezer Baptist Church, but Martin wanted to continue his education. In September, he entered the Crozer Theological Seminary, a school of religion in Chester, Pennsylvania. Out of 100 students at the school, only 6 were black. At Crozer, Martin studied the teachings of people such as Mahatma Gandhi, the first leader of modern-day India. Like Thoreau, Mahatma Gandhi believed change could come from peaceful protest. Peaceful protest, again, ding, ding, ding. In 1951, Martin graduated from Crozer. He was the top student of his class, but he still thought there was more to learn about helping people through protest. So he moved to Massachusetts to study at the Boston University School of Theology. In Boston, Martin met Coretta Scott. Coretta had grown up in Alabama, but she was in Boston studying to be a singer. On their first date, Martin drove his green Chevrolet to pick her up. Over lunch, they talked about how hard it was to be a black in the United States. They also talked about how people could live together in peace. Martin was impressed by Coretta. Okay? So even on their first date, he was impressed. There's a cute little picture of him. Okay? And I skipped reading about Mahatma Gandhi. I'll read that at another time. Okay? So we'll go back to that one. All right, last page of chapter 2. After only an hour, Martin knew that they were going to get married one day, and he was right. On June 18th, 1953, they were married at the Scotts' home in Marion, Alabama. The young couple lived in Boston. Martin had to finish his studies at Boston University, and Coretta had to complete her work to become a music teacher. When he was done with school, he became Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin was now ready to start his life's work. But exactly how would he do it? All right, and that is where we'll stop. Chapter 3 tomorrow. Some requests for Chief, so here he is, sleeping again. Always sleeping.